had worried about how his unwillingness to display emotion would play out with Maggie, an effusive young woman who wore her heart on her sleeve. 6 years later, the marriage seemed to be strong, even though neither of them had apparently changed their natural disposition. Their other son, Mark, flew into Boston from Chicago, where he worked as a commodities trader. Anne drove to Logan Airport to meet him and her daughter Allison, who was arriving later in the day from Los Angeles. Whatever concerns Anne had about Brent were doubled when it came to Mark. His job was stressful, and he obsessed about it day and night. An early marriage had lasted barely 6 months, and 2 live-in girlfriends had come and gone since then. He claimed that their home in Wellesley Hills was the only place where he could truly feel calm. Anne hoped it wouldn't take him the entire 5 days of his stay to relax. Mark arrived at 2 and sat with Anne as they waited for Allison and her husband's plane. When she asked him about his work, he waved his hand in the air and said, "I don't have to think about it until Monday, so I don't want to talk about it. And you can do me a favor and ask Dad not to quiz me about it either." They sat side by side on a bench. Her arm was looped through his, and she gently rubbed his forearm. "I'll tell him, but he doesn't always listen." "How is he doing anyway? What does he have, about 9 months to go before retirement?" "His last day is officially August 31st, but he has months of holiday and sick leave accumulated. I've been trying to get him to use it so he can leave earlier." "Will he?" "What do you think?" "He'll leave August 31st and not a day sooner," Mark said. "That's a very good guess." "I wish he'd start to wean himself from Pilgrim. If he doesn't, the suddenness of not going into work every day is going to come as one hell of a shock," Mark said. "How many years has he been there?" "Almost 40, and as president for the last 20, Anne said. "As for weaning, that doesn't seem to be in his plans. When it comes to that company, he doesn't know how to give anything less than 100%. It's been like that since the beginning, and I guess it will end the same way." "He's had a great run. It took that kind of work ethic and foresight and guts to take a regional player like Pilgrim and turn it into a national power. I have colleagues in Chicago who are careful when they deal with me simply because I'm Bloody Jack Anderson's son." He dislikes being referred to as Bloody Jack." "I know, but it is what everyone calls him, and they have their reasons. I know it must be difficult for you to think of Dad as ruthless, but that's how he's regarded by many. He has never been sentimental about any part of Pilgrim, and he's never been afraid to make hard decisions when they're needed. In business, those are terrific attributes. Besides, who can argue with his success or the respect he generates?" "I've never once thought of your father as ruthless." "Neither have I, but I understand that Pilgrim's Jack Anderson and my father Jack Anderson can form 2 parts of the same man. Anyway, in my mind, Dad is just a smart, hard-nosed executive who does what he thinks is necessary for the good of the business and its shareholders. This country would be better off if there were more men like him." "All that may be true, but he still hates that nickname." Mark looked towards the gate, from which Allison, her husband Tony, and their 3-year-old son Jonathan were scheduled to emerge. "I don't want to harp on this, but aren't you worried that Dad's transition to retirement could be rocky?" he asked his mother. "I didn't say I'm not worried, but this is your father we're talking about. He might have plans he hasn't discussed with me yet." "What's he going to do? Take up golf or tennis? It's a bit late for new hobbies." "Your father has never had a hobby, and I can't imagine him starting now," she said. "I assume he'll serve on some corporate boards and perhaps become involved in charitable work." "He'll get plenty of invitations to join boards, I'm sure." "Then there you are. Those will keep him busy." Mark smiled and pointed towards the gate. "And there is Allison," he said. His sister, a lanky 5'10" with a mop of frizzy auburn hair, wasn't hard to pick out in a crowd. It took close to an hour for Allison and Tony to retrieve their bags, and another 15 minutes for Anne to find the car and get out of the parking lot. There was a flurry of conversation in the car as Anne, Mark, Allison, and Tony got caught up on each other's lives. But when the car exited the Mass Pike and started along Route 9, the talk dwindled. When they reached Cliff Road and began the climb to Pierce, the chit-chat ended altogether.